So if you've made lots of money in some shady way, you need something to do with that money that makes the money look sort of legit, just so you can use it. We often think of that as like a mob thing, right? But money laundering can also be a bank thing if you know the right kind of bank to go to. A couple of weeks ago, the big German bank Deutsche Bank, they got fined $630 million for money laundering. Apparently, Deutsche Bank moved roughly $10 billion out of Russia. Some of those accounts were personally held by relatives of Vladimir Putin and by some of Vladimir Putin's closest and oldest friends. And when this money laundering was exposed at Deutsche Bank, the Russian central bank looked into the scheme and they decided to fine Deutsche Bank $5,000. Let me mention again here that the fraud here, the money laundering scheme here, was $10 billion. Luckily, though, this was not just a Russia thing. This scheme did involve a Deutsche Bank office, yes, in Moscow, but also in New York, and interestingly, also in Cyprus. Because of the New York connection, this giant multi-billion-dollar money laundering scheme ended up in the crosshairs of the Obama Justice Department. They ended up fining Deutsche Bank $630 million. When the last chairman of Deutsche Bank needed a new job, where he landed was as the chairman of the Bank of Cyprus. This is where Russian oligarchs launder their money. He was appointed chairman of that bank by its two largest shareholders. One of the two largest shareholders is a close personal friend and business associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The other major investors in that bank is a Russian oligarch who they call the King of Fertilizer. He does hold the title for what is believed to be the most expensive divorce in modern history. The split up of this couple reportedly started in 2007, 2008, thereabouts. The divorce settlement, in the end, wasn't finalized until 2015. Mostly what they fought about, though, was dividing their money. And she accused him specifically of, quote, secreting and transferring assets in order to avoid his obligations. When you're the king of fertilizer, it makes the Today Show.
This is home of the most expensive condo. A college student just bought it, and it will not even be her primary residence. According to Forbes magazine, the new owner is the 22-year-old daughter of a Russian billionaire, Ekaterina Rybolovlev. Price tag for her new part-time place, $88 million, all paid for by daddy. In 2008, Ekaterina's father, Dmitry Rybolovlev, also bought this Florida estate from Donald Trump. He paid the Donald $95 million in cash.
The Greek island where Jackie Kennedy married Aristotle Onassis, he bought that island for $150 million. Actor Will Smith had a nice house in Hawaii. He bought that for $20 million. This guy has an adjoining compound of properties in the Swiss Alps that he bought for $135 million. But it also creates, if you think about it, this incredible opportunity for anybody who's in a position to sell something really expensive. Behold. But La Maison de l'Amitié. Donald Trump bought it for $40 million in 2006. It sat empty for 2 years. And then in 2008, along comes Rybolovlev, turns around in 2008 and pays Donald Trump $100 million for that house. 2.5 times what Trump had bought it for 2 years earlier. Trump and Rybolovlev have commented publicly that they never dealt with each other directly throughout the whole period of that sale. Who were the intermediaries? Well, the king of fertilizer, Dmitry Rybolovlev, does have one very important American connection. That bank that includes the guy whose firm was just done for the Russian money laundering and Vladimir Putin's very close associate. I should tell you, the vice chairman who that guy replaced was not only also a close Vladimir Putin associate, he was a guy who Putin was in the KGB with before he became Vladimir Putin. There is one American who is in the middle of that bank, and tonight that American was just confirmed as our nation's new Secretary of Commerce. His name is Wilbur Ross, longtime friend of Donald Trump, but inexplicably ended up the majority shareholder in a Cypriot bank with all sorts of ties to Vladimir Putin and to a Russian oligarch who somehow, through some intermediary, we don't know who, ended up stuffing $60 million into Donald Trump's wallet, paying him $100 million for something that Trump had just bought for $40 million. And there's two things to know about this story going forward. One, in terms of explaining this presidency. The other one in terms of what happens next in our politics. In terms of explaining this presidency, you should know that at the time this magical deal emerged out of nowhere, at that time, It is a matter of public record that he was fighting very hard to avoid paying off a big loan that he had with Deutsche Bank. This mysterious windfall infusion of cash from the Russian guy came at just the right time for now President Trump. So that's one thing to know about this story. The other thing to know about this story has to do with what's going to happen next in the administration, because now Wilbur Ross, with all of his unexplained, mysterious Russia ties, now he's Secretary of Commerce. And any scandal that ends up affixing to him on this subject will affix to the administration throughout the time that he is in office. And the big problem with Wilbur Ross is that the scandal about him and Russia may ultimately be a scandal about Donald Trump and Russia. Remember that 35-page dossier with all those salacious details supposedly about Donald Trump? Here's the New Yorker, quote, "The 35-page dossier included claims about Trump's behavior during a 2013 trip to Moscow. The dossier concluded that Russia had personal and financial material on Trump that could be used as blackmail. It said that the Russians had been cultivating, supporting, and assisting Trump for years." One intelligence official tells the New York Times, quote, "They are continuing to chase down stuff from the dossier, and at its core, a lot of it is bearing out." Some officials believe that one reason the Russians compiled information on Trump during his 2013 trip was that he was meeting with Russian oligarchs who might be stashing money abroad. And that is why Russia was compiling dirt on Trump.